Thank you, Chairman Meadows. Thank you to the panel today for sharing your insights with us. They say that genius is the ability to reduce the complicated to the simple. And it'd be great to have a little genius in the federal government. So toward that end, Mr. Cooper, do we have a database of all the addresses in the United States of America?
My understanding is the closest we have to that in the Census Bureau is the master address file. I believe that in addition to that, there are supplemental databases that also, administrative records that the Director has talked about in some of the earlier GAO testimony. Therefore, I'm going to say, but I'm going to ask for help from my fellow panelists, I don't believe that there is a single master file of every housing unit in the United States. But is that in the master address file?
Would the Postal Service have that?
Can I respond?
Absolutely.
So we maintain a master address list that we try to make as accurate as possible, that contains every address in the United States, both mailable addresses and those that aren't mailable. And we're in the process now of continuously updating it. So we work with the states and localities that want to participate and take their lists and put into it. Twice a year, at least, we get a feed from the post office, and they give us updates to their delivery sequence file. So we try to maintain this address list and make it as accurate as possible so that when we take the census, we have every housing unit in there.
Safe to say we have 99% of the addresses in the country in the postal system's database? 98%, high percentage?
So we actually believe that we have an address list that is a little more complete than the post office's list, because we actually go into structures that don't receive mail and list the addresses. And part of what we're going to do before the next census in about 25% of the country is actually go knock on doors, ask if there are hidden addresses, to make sure that we get every address in the country where someone can reside, whether or not they get mail at that address.
And your job is to count the number of people living at each address, correct? Simply put?
Yes.
I just want to make sure, maybe I'll ask Mr. Cooper this. Do you think we're unnecessarily complicating this? I come from the high-tech industry, the private sector. I know how this can go.
My direct answer would be no, sir, I don't believe that we are overly complicating it. But here is what's going on. We're moving from pencil and paper processing to leveraging technology in a more fully automated way. So the transition is complicated, complex, and we need to manage that extremely well and extremely rigorously and thoroughly. But I do not believe that we are making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Mr. Cooper, I think it's called CEDCAP.
Yes, sir.
I read there was a mention of the last census. I believe we had over 100 duplicative systems. To me, that's A, amazing, and B, a recipe for disaster. How are we changing that this census?
CEDCAP, I admit, Congressman, I don't know the exact number, so I accept the numbers that you're saying on what did exist and the number of duplicative systems. Here's the really good news. CEDCAP, in fact, is being architected, engineered, and it is well along the way to replace all of those, at least as many as are appropriate to the 2020 decennial and the concomitant operations, to replace that with a single, architected, well understood, not complicated environment, ecosystem, if you will, that will serve all data collection and all operational processing of that data in the conduct of the 2020 decennial.
And the last thing, my time is running short. As I was reading, it seems to me the largest savings is in the non-response follow-up organization, $2.5 billion in savings, which would be fantastic. The wording in there said that we've developed or are developing a prototype system that incorporates commercial off-the-shelf technology, which I think is great, rather than developing it custom. Can you talk to me about that?
As much as I've been fully briefed and I understand what I've been told, which are two different things, the fact that we are using commercial off-the-shelf solutions is certainly something that I, in my CIO role, are fully supportive of. Based on your reflection on your background, I fully concur with you. By using commercially proven off-the-shelf software, same thing that I testified just briefly about the mobile devices, mobile technology, that type of thing, those same benefits apply. Okay, we have proven technology. We've got a lot of additional expertise that's been brought to bear. It usually incorporates architected security features that we then can take advantage of. They're well-known, well-proven across industry. Wherever we can, and it's in the operational plan that was recently shared with Congress and released publicly, we are leveraging commercial off-the-shelf software and solutions.
Excellent. And I'll yield back the time I do not have.